Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Anderson. I'm 28 years old and a nurse at Memorial Hospital. And this is the story of how my mother-in-law nearly destroyed my life. 2 years ago, I married Tom, the man I thought was my soulmate. We met in the ER when he came in with a minor injury from a construction site accident. He's an architect, you see. Our wedding was beautiful, despite his mother, Catherine, criticizing every detail. Darling, you really should have chosen the other venue I suggested. This one's so modest, she had said, her smile dripping with condescension. It was one of many backhanded compliments to come. At first, life was good. Tom's career was taking off, and we bought a charming house just 20 minutes from the hospital. But Catherine, who lived just 10 minutes away, began showing up unannounced. Oh, I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by. Tom works so hard, he needs proper care, she would say while casually inspecting my housekeeping. It was my best friend, Sarah, who first voiced what I was too exhausted to admit. Julia, don't you think Catherine's getting a little too involved? She asked over coffee one afternoon. Sarah, a lawyer with an analytical mind, picked up on things I tried to ignore. Tom's sister, Anne, would shoot me sympathetic looks at family dinners, but she never spoke up. Not when Catherine criticized my cooking. Not when she made passive-aggressive comments about my work schedule. A wife should be home more, Catherine would say, knowing full well I worked long hospital shifts. Then she started interfering with our finances. Tom, sweetheart, that investment I told you about, my friend's son tripled his money. The next thing I knew, Tom had drained our house renovation fund. Meanwhile, Catherine made sure we rarely saw my parents, conveniently scheduling urgent family gatherings on the same nights as my parents' Sunday dinners. But it's my dad's birthday, I protested. Mom's already planned something, Tom replied, avoiding my eyes. You need to set boundaries, my mother warned me one evening when I managed to visit alone. This isn't normal, honey. I started to see it then, the pattern, the control. But I wasn't prepared for how much worse it would get. One night, after a brutal family dinner where Catherine had torn apart everything from my career to my housekeeping, Anne found me crying in the kitchen. I'm so sorry, Julia, she whispered. She's always been like this. I wish I was braver, but... Her voice trailed off as the sound of heels echoed down the hallway. What are you girls whispering about? Catherine appeared, her perfectly painted smile not reaching her eyes. Tom's looking for you, Julia. He needs to discuss that charity gala donation I suggested. We can't afford that right now, I started. Nonsense, she said, waving a manicured hand. Tom knows what's best for his career. Don't be so controlling, dear. I watched as my husband signed another check, right after telling me we had to postpone our vacation due to budget constraints. Sarah's words from earlier that week rang in my mind. This isn't just about money, Julia. She's isolating you. Classic manipulation tactics. I wish I had truly listened then, because what came next was far worse. It started with a fever, a cough. Working in a hospital during flu season, I wasn't surprised when I got sick. But this was different. Within days, my condition worsened into severe pneumonia. You need rest and these antibiotics, Dr. Martinez told me firmly. Take them exactly as prescribed. That was the moment Catherine announced she was renovating her house and moved in with us. Don't worry, dear. I'll take care of everything. You just rest. Too sick to fight back, I let exhaustion and medication pull me under. Time blurred. But one morning, as I reached for my pills, they were gone. Those harsh chemicals will only make you weaker, Catherine tetted. Here, drink this herbal tea. It's what I gave Tom when he was little. Panic gripped my chest. But I need my prescription. My voice was barely a whisper. I need my prescription. Catherine's expression didn't change. Instead, she sighed dramatically. Nonsense. You're just being overly dramatic. A good wife powers through illness. Days blurred together. My chest felt like it was filled with concrete, every breath a struggle. Through the haze, I heard voices outside my room. Mom says she's just milking it for attention, Tom muttered. I've seen cases like this, Tom. Some women just aren't strong enough for marriage. Remember your cousin's wife. One night, my fever raged, my body burning and trembling under the blankets. That's when Catherine entered my room. She leaned in close, her voice a deadly whisper. Listen here, you pathetic little thing. You have 3 choices. Toughen up, die, or divorce my son. He deserves better than a weak wife who can't even handle a little cold. I tried calling out for Tom. No answer. He'd taken sleeping pills. Catherine's suggestion. Of course, to help him rest despite my constant coughing. Thank God for Sarah's daily check-ins. When I didn't respond for 24 hours, she used her spare key to get inside. Jesus Christ, Julia, her voice cut through the fog. Where are your meds? She's burning up. The next thing I knew, I was in the hospital. Familiar doctors and nurses hovered over me, their expressions grim. Severe pneumonia, dangerous progression. Where was the prescription? Sarah was there when I woke up properly. Her face was tight with fury. They found your pills, she told me, voice shaking. Hidden in Catherine's guest room, mixed in with her stuff. From the hallway, I heard Catherine's voice, smooth, measured, full of fake concern. My son's wife is clearly unstable, imagining things in her delirium. Tom, you need to consider your options, she added, her voice dripping with manipulation. And then, the final betrayal. Mom's right, Julia, Tom said, his voice dull. You're not thinking clearly. She's been taking care of you. I forced myself to sit up, every muscle screaming in protest. Taking care of me? My voice was raw. I almost died. See how hysterical she's being. Catherine cooed. Tom, darling, she's so unwell. Something inside me snapped. Get out, I rasped. They stared at me. Both of you, get out. Tom's face twisted in something like pain. You're choosing this drama over family. Family? I choked out a bitter laugh. She hid my medication. I could have died. Tom's jaw clenched. I won't let you talk about my mother that way. She only wants what's best. I turned to Sarah. Get me the discharge papers. I'm not staying here with them. As they wheeled me out, Catherine's sickly sweet voice followed. Poor thing. Having a mental breakdown. Good thing you have me, Tom. That was the day I moved in with Sarah. The day I realized the woman who had tried to kill me was still controlling my husband, and he couldn't or wouldn't see it. But living with Sarah cleared my head. As my strength returned, we started piecing together Catherine's web of manipulation. One night, Sarah pulled out a legal pad. Every incident, no matter how small, we need to document everything. My phone buzzed. A message from Anne. Can we meet? Somewhere private? There's something you need to know. We met at a cafe across town. Anne's hands trembled around her coffee cup. Dad's death, she whispered. It wasn't a heart attack like Mom claimed. I found his old medical records. He was perfectly healthy. Cold dread crawled up my spine. What are you saying? Anne swallowed hard. The night before he died, they fought. About her control. Next morning, he just didn't wake up. I stared at her, my blood turning to ice. The investigation was rushed. Mom knew the right people. More messages poured in. A former daughter-in-law of Catherine's reached out through social media. She pulled the same stunts with me. Natural remedies when I got sick after my baby. I barely survived. Another woman, once married to Catherine's nephew. She turned my husband against me too. Two more, both previously married to Catherine's brothers. One had even been institutionalized after Catherine convinced everyone she was mentally unstable. Meanwhile, Catherine wasn't done with me yet. Your wife is unstable, emotionally manipulative, she told Tom's coworkers. Soon, they started avoiding me at social functions. Later, we discovered her little lunch dates with the partners' wives, spreading poison, planting doubt. Then Anne called one night, her voice shaking. She's been moving money around. I found Dad's original will. Tom's inheritance, she's been controlling it, making him dependent. Offshore accounts, hidden assets, decades of control. But despite everything, I threw myself into work. My colleagues knew the real me. They saw my dedication. Congratulations, Head Nurse Anderson. The promotion came through. My team celebrated in the break room, cutting into a cake someone had made. Then my phone rang. Tom. Your wife's success reflects poorly on you, I heard Catherine say in the background. A husband should be the primary achiever. She's emasculating you. The next morning, a text from Tom. I want a divorce. Mom's lawyer will contact you. Sarah scanned the message. She's pushing him to file first. Makes you look like the guilty party. Then more revelations. She's been badmouthing you to the hospital board, Sarah said, trying to sabotage your promotion. She did the same with me, Anne admitted. Any time I showed independence, she tore me down. But watching what she did to you, I can't stay silent anymore. Then Tom's company launched an investigation. Catherine's networking had gone too far. She was no longer just the overbearing mother-in-law. She was a liability. But she wasn't done. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. The voice on the other end of the call was calm, measured. I was their family lawyer, the man said. I can't stay silent anymore. What happened to Mr. Peters? Catherine's involvement. I've carried this guilt too long. Anne sent more documents that evening. Bank statements, letters, evidence of a pattern spanning decades. Catherine hadn't just controlled people. She had controlled their futures, their finances, their very existence. The next day, she cornered me outside the hospital. Her voice was venom. You'll regret this. I met her gaze, unshaken. Your threats don't work anymore. She stepped closer. No one leaves my son. No one exposes my family. I smiled coldly. I'm not dying or divorcing on your terms. She didn't realize it yet, but her empire was already crumbling. And then it all unraveled, faster than anyone expected. Her attempt to transfer Tom's inheritance using forged signatures triggered an internal review. The bank manager's voice was sharp when he called her in. Mrs. Peters, these signatures don't match our records. That was all it took. A single spark to ignite the wildfire. Mark Davidson, a detective whose wife had suffered under Catherine's manipulation years ago, reopened the investigation into Tom's father's death. The toxicology report was buried, he told me. But I found it. Traces of an untraceable poison, similar to 3 other cases I've been tracking. Anne burst into my office one afternoon, her face pale, hands clutching a thick stack of papers. Insurance policies, she said, breathless. Mom's been running a scam for years. Taking out policies on family members. Collecting when they mysteriously got sick or died. The prestigious country club revoked her membership. Charity boards cut ties. Former friends crossed the street to avoid her. And then there was Tom. He showed up at Sarah's door, his face gaunt, shoulders slumped. I've been such a fool, he whispered. All these years, watching her destroy everyone. And I let her. I met his eyes, steady and firm. It's too late, Tom. I've moved on. Catherine's arrest made the local headlines. Insurance fraud. Financial manipulation. The investigation into her husband's death ongoing. At the sentencing, Sarah leaned in, whispering, 5 years minimum. All her assets frozen. I heard she ended up in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment on the wrong side of town. Her social circle reduced to suspicious neighbors who had Googled her name. Tom sent a letter through his therapist. I failed you. I failed everyone by enabling her. I'm getting help, but I know it doesn't change the past. Anne and I meet for coffee regularly now. She's thriving, running her own business, finally free. Sometimes I drive by her apartment, she admitted one afternoon. She just sits at the window, watching people live their lives. My promotion to director of nursing came with a corner office. That's where I met James, the new hospital administrator. No manipulation, no power plays, just genuine connection. Last week, I received the Healthcare Leadership Award. As I walked to the podium, I spotted Catherine standing in the back. Uninvited. Aged years in mere months. Success is the best revenge, I said in my speech. But healing is the greatest victory. James squeezed my hand. Sarah cheered from the audience. Anne beamed with pride. I heard Catherine slip out during the standing ovation. Back to her empty apartment, her empire reduced to silence. That night, surrounded by friends and love, I realized she hadn't broken me. She had revealed my strength. I didn't just survive. I thrived. Let her watch from her window as life moves on without her. Because my story isn't about her anymore. It's about rising above toxicity, breaking the cycle of abuse, choosing joy. Tom sent one final text. You deserve better. I'm glad you found it. He was right. I found myself, and that's worth more than revenge ever could be. What would you do if you discovered someone you loved had been manipulated into enabling abuse? Would you give them a second chance, like Tom wanted? Or would you stand firm and walk away like I did? Sometimes, love isn't enough when trust is shattered beyond repair. If my story resonated with you, Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming toxic relationships and finding your strength. Together, we can help others recognize the warning signs of manipulation before it's too late. Stay strong. Stay true to yourself.